to the United States of America, with the Republican leader being sworn in as the 47th president of the country. This marks a remarkable comeback as Trump assumes office for the second historic term. The inauguration that this time was held indoors at the Capitol owing to rough weather conditions. That was attended by prominent political figures, business leaders and former presidents as well. Now, after the oath event, Trump in his inaugural address outlined his vision for the future of America, asserting that the golden age has now begun, also making series of bold and contentious declarations on the issues such as immigration, national security and cultural reform. Taking a swipe at Biden administration, Trump expressed his commitment to ending the weaponization of Justice Department, vowing to put America first. He's called 20th of January as the Liberation Day for America, and during this address, Trump also confirmed that his plans is to declare a national emergency at the southern border, where he has vowed to halt all illegal entries and immediately begin the process of deporting criminal elements back to Mexico. Now, President Trump said that he would rename Gulf of Mexico as Gulf of America on the Panama Canal. He said that America will now take it back. Now, while the U.S. president promised to bring back free speech and end censorship, the American federal government will only recognize, however, two genders, male and female.
The golden age of America begins right now. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end. From this moment on, America's decline is over. Just a few months ago, in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also congratulated the newly sworn-in President of the United States, addressing him as dear friend in a post on social media platform where Prime Minister Modi expressed his willingness to work closely with the Trump administration for mutual benefit to both nations and shaping a better future for the world. Let's, in the meantime, get you exactly when it comes to a series of swift decisions and announcements that have already been made by President Trump. The second term that is now kicked off with a series of executive orders, including a landmark decision to withdraw the U.S. from the World Health Organization, with the U.S. now being the largest funding source for the global health body. This move is set to severely impact the WHO's financial stability. Now, critics argue this decision undermines global cooperation in tackling health crisis. Now, while Trump maintains his prioritizes America's sovereignty and public health above all. Let's get in a word from Malvika, who's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Good evening to you, Malvika. Now, looking at the series of orders and decisions that have now been taken, exactly when it comes to the withdrawal from the WHO, what does it mean as far as the new Trump Sarkar takes shape, and of course for the United States? Malvika, can you unmute yourself so we can hear you?
Right. So Donald Trump, I was saying that Donald Trump has constantly maintained during his campaign trail and even in his inaugural address that as far as trade ties are concerned, the U.S. is going to follow an America first policy. So it is not a surprise that the U.S. has decided to pull back from the Paris Agreement or has decided to scale back from the WHO, because when it comes to WHO, there are certain restrictions on the kind of tariffs that can be imposed, and Trump has consistently maintained that he is going to be levying tariffs on nations that levy tariffs on U.S. goods and services, and that pretty much means most of the developing countries that have trade ties with the U.S., including India. But the extent of these tariffs is something that remains to be seen. So really crucial developments are taking place. Several executive orders have been signed by him. Again, it is not clear what happens to people who are immigrants and waiting in line for a green card and by default have become illegal immigrants. But on the first day of his swearing in as the president, as Donald Trump has promised, he has gotten to work and assigned several executive orders. I also wanted to mention that there is a mechanism by which an executive order can be rescinded, and this can be done in three scenarios: either by an act of the Congress or by the president himself, by issuing another executive order, or by the Supreme Court of the United States of America. So even though Donald Trump has signed these executive orders, they are going to stand the test of democracy.
All right. Malvika, if she continues to be with us, we talk about many of those decisions there would have, when it comes to a large impact, as we're looking at the global affairs and the dynamics and the equations now seem to be changing with Donald Trump now assuming the role of the 47th president of the United States, especially when it comes to the withdrawal from the WHO. Would it further undermine the nation's standing as a global health leader, or exactly when it comes to the string of reasons that have now been cited by Donald Trump, talking about failure to adopt urgently needed reforms, especially during the pandemic? Now, soon after being sworn in as the 47th president, Donald Trump has granted TikTok a lifeline via an executive order as well. Trump signed the executive order giving TikTok 75 more days to comply with the federal law passed last year that asked the popular short videos application to either cut ties with the Chinese parent company or face a ban in the United States of America. So, Malvika, on that, we have seen that millions of users, how popular this app really is in the United States. They did sire, when it comes to relief, that for some time it has come back as far as the application is concerned. And of course, with the very presence of the TikTok CEO also there, what signs, what message does Donald Trump seems to be giving to the company?
Well, I just wanted to mention that there is an AI giant, Perplexity, that has shown interest in merging with TikTok. And there seems to be a deal in the works between Perplexity and ByteDance USA, which is the parent company of TikTok. And there have obviously been meetings between the TikTok CEO and Donald Trump. So in the next few days, there might be a merger announcement that might be made. Details are, of course, not available, and this is all information based on what we are hearing from sources.
All right, let's get you another round of breaking update, because when it comes to the bold statement that has been made by President Trump in yet another announcement where he is now vowed to take back the Panama Canal, asserting that China currently controls its operations. However, his remarks are also seen as a direct challenge to the Chinese influence in the region, sending strong message about American interest as well. So how will he actually take back the Panama Canal, Malvika, with this announcement now coming in from President Trump?
When Donald Trump says that they are going to take back the Panama Canal, it does not technically need to be physically taking the possession back, but it could mean that they are going to lend operating rights to certain countries, or they might ask for certain concessions, because remember that China's influence on the Panama Canal is increasing, and it is the US that had spent billions of dollars to build the Panama Canal before it had handed it over to Panama. So the details are not yet available in the public domain on how Donald Trump really envisages to take back the Panama Canal, but definitely this was something that he mentioned in his inaugural address. Now remember that Panama Canal is a crucial trade route, and any trade that is taking place from countries in Asia connecting to the West, most ships pass through the Panama Canal, and in the recent past we had seen a shortage of containers, a shortage of ships, and that had led to a significant increase in the cost of trade, and had led to massive inflation in countries like the US.
But even if we talk about, as far as Panama Canal is one of the US's most important trade routes, with about 40% of all the country's container ships that pass through the waterway between the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. But what is the China messaging here? Malvika, if you can get us as far as the mixed signals that we are getting from the United States of America, because according to Donald Trump, American ships are being severely overcharged and are not being treated in a fair manner in any shape and form.
Well, that's right. I don't think I have enough information to say with authority, and this is something that Donald Trump has said, so we take it as something that has come from the President of the United States, that US ships are being unfairly charged. But definitely China has mastered the supply chain, and anything and everything that is getting manufactured, it has become the hub of manufacturing. And so obviously, just by default, by the logic of economies of scale, China is able to negotiate better rates. All the shipping lines have built their hubs in China, and the containers are parked in China. So obviously, it has a greater influence on the trade route, on the infrastructure as far as supply chain is concerned across the world today.
So around 5% what is now being said when it comes to global maritime trade that actually passes through the 51-mile Panama Canal, and here is Donald Trump vowing to take it back. Now, is that exactly possible or not? However, the announcement that is now coming across from President Trump as he assumes office, saying that when it comes to United States is being severely overcharged and it's not being treated in a fair manner, including when it comes to the United States Navy. However, he said that he wanted to be a peacemaker, but exactly when it comes to Panama Canal, where Trump has previously said that he wanted to acquire Greenland as well, but remains to be seen. However, he did not mention it this time in his address. But when it comes to his expansionist vision for the next 4 years, that seems to be quite visible there in his vision that he has set forth of making America great again. So it's was part of his inaugural speech that we are talking about, as far as when it comes to Trump Sarkar now taking shape on the 20th of January, where he has declared that this is Liberation Day for the United States of America. Let's in the meantime also talk about how Donald Trump, himself being a shrewd businessman, he actually means business as he assumes